Welcome to the Limitless Potential podcast, where together we will dive into the personal, business, and career-rich tips, techniques, stories, and experiences of some incredibly successful and inspirational people, each with their own perspectives and journeys, and each with golden nuggets of wisdom which might just change your life. I'm Tracy Stone, and I'm a master trainer in a number of career supercharging techniques, a transformational coach, international best-selling author, inspirational speaker, and a woman discovering and evolving my very own limitless potential day by day.
I went to yoga and one thing you're going to start on the stage.
Celebrate yourself.
Spiritual things are very second and her.
And so once a week, each of you take.
Now I got that message and I see this happening many times again. Again, I see it in a positive way.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Limitless Potential. Today, I am really delighted to welcome Lady JB Owen, world-class speaker, international best-selling author, heart-centered publisher, executive producer, and knighted lady who joins us today from Alberta, Canada. JB is a fearless female leader and a highly successful entrepreneur. She's a world-class speaker, internationally best-selling author multiple times over, knighted humanitarian, and a powerful business owner. She has created award-winning products, worldwide brands, and published multiple international bestsellers whose reach spans the globe to inspire millions. And she's here with us today to talk about her journey and how she taps into her very own limitless potential. Welcome, JB, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here. And I just love the way you read my bio. Your voice and everything is so fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So delighted to be here.
Thank you, JB. Maybe I have another career ahead of me as a voice.
Yes, exactly.
Well, you and I know each other for a while now, and I couldn't be happier than to be introducing you here on my podcast because people need to know you. And we're going to share all of that special you-ness with them. And we're going to do it by telling your journey, telling your story, because people are going to just fall in love with you. So let's go back to the beginning. And if you would, tell us what it was like for you as a little girl growing up, because you didn't start life as this incredible entrepreneur and publisher, humanitarian, award winner, and as a lady. It wasn't like that. So tell us what it was like growing up.
Well, it's so interesting that you say all that because you immediately made me think of my childhood. I sort of saw myself at like 6 and 7. And it's quite funny because at 6 and 7, I loved making stuff. I loved being creative. I was really, really into, playtime and pretend, and loved being a lady and loved being a princess. In fact, when I was in grade 4, I actually wore gloves to school, and because I just wanted to wear white gloves to school. And when I was 9, I started being an entrepreneur. And so all
At
the things
9, I'm so sorry, I have to stop you already. At 9, you started being an entrepreneur.
Yes, I started my first business when I was 9 years old. I made little necklaces out of leather string and beads. And I made a little display, and I used to take them on Friday nights. My father would go to the tavern for one drink with his friends, and I would sit outside and I would solicit people that would go by. I'd be like, hey, mister, do you want to buy a necklace for your girl? Or I'd be like, hey, would you like to wear a necklace with your new outfit? And I would actually get people to try them on. And I saw this amazing dynamic between she loved it, and then he would love to buy it for her, and then I would get money in my hand, and then I would be happy. And so that's my first absolute just love for entrepreneurship at 9 years old. And so I've always loved being an entrepreneur. I've always loved being a lady and always being a little bit prim and proper. I've always loved being creative. I've always loved writing. And so I find it fascinating that as you read my bio and I go back in time, in many, many ways, that's who I always can remember myself being, even though it was weird and not always received well, and not always the most popular thing to be a little bit different. That was probably the majority of my childhood. It was always just a little bit different. And it was odd and difficult living in a small town in Canada and with parents who, really wanted me to fit in. I'm the youngest of two, and I had a very smart and intelligent, super amazingly brilliant older sister who was, valedictorian and highest in her class and highest in the province. And I took the route to be more creative and more dramatic and more into fashion and more into arts and writing and storytelling, interestingly enough. How did that all unfold?
Oh, wow. So yeah, but isn't it so interesting that you learn so early on what it is that you're great at, and those are the magic about us, but very often it gets kind of tamped down by society, by family values or family life, or just what people expect to be the norm. But those are the things, like for you, you knew that you loved writing, you knew that you loved being out there in front of people, you loved to
And
be on a stage.
yes, and designing and creating and selling and connecting and bringing people together. And I will be honest with you, I did receive the same kind of stomping and criticism and, punishment and ostracization that many people feel and receive. And there was just a part of me that was so darn rebellious and so determined to not let anybody else, hamper my will or my wishes or my dreams, even though there was another part of me that, always felt like I had to strive for more. I had to do more. I had to work harder, and I had to live up to my potential. I had to really do what I was put here to do. And in fact, my husband one time asked me, he's like, how come you have just this continuously optimistic attitude that, you are capable and possible to do anything? And I remember actually being in Sunday school very, very young. And I remember my Sunday school teacher telling me that God wants you to have everything and God wants to give you all. And there's a room filled with presents all wrapped just for you. And God's just waiting for you to unwrap them. And the interesting thing is I was young enough to actually believe that that was true. And that I've lived that way my whole life, that there's this amazing source, this higher source and power that really wants us to have everything. And all the gifts and wishes that are available to us, we just have to step into them. We just have to decide that they're ours and be willing to open the door into that room and unwrap those presents and use them, utilize them, and put them into practice.
You're so right. But so often we talk ourselves out of that, don't we?
We do. Yeah, we really
Have
do.
you had any situations yourself where you found that you were talking yourself out of using it? Because the you that I know, the JB that I know and love, you talk yourself into everything and you launch yourself at things. Has there ever been a time that you felt that you were talking yourself out of it, or has it always been that you were switched on?
Well, it's interesting because when I was 17, I wanted to go to Paris and model. I wanted to be on the cover of Vogue, and I actually met with an agent who said, "You'll never make it. You don't have what it takes. You're too fat. You don't have the right body. You might as well give up now." And I do remember walking out of his office, and I do remember just absolutely trashing that dream and parking it and never reviewing it or deciding to go after it. But very funnily enough, when I was 49, my husband asked me what I wanted to do for my 50th birthday. And I remember thinking, like, what do I want to do? I have done everything. I've traveled around the world. I've worked in film. I've been on a cruise ship. I've been successful. I've really been lovingly, I still had to trudge, but I've been really successful to do the things that I wanted. So what did I want to do? I thought, well, maybe it would be fun to go after that dream because that was a dream that somebody took away from me. Now, I haven't fulfilled that dream, but what it did was it sparked the idea that we should never let anybody douse our dreams, and we should never let anybody tell us it's not possible, and we should never let anybody tell us we can't do it. And so, I have a huge motto: there's no such thing as no. No is just new opportunity. No just means new option. And so I did at one time when I was 17, and I regretted it for years continually. And that even fueled more my desire to not let anybody, take away what I was going to go after and make happen in my life.
Isn't it wonderful to be able to use it as fuel for the fire?
Mhm.
Instead of as something that controls you and keeps you down. You decided to use that as fuel for your fire.
Yeah, and I've tripped and fallen. I've scraped my knees. I've had to crawl over broken glass. I've literally been on my hands and knees, asking, praying, crying, wanting to be risen from my own, mistakes and my own challenges. But I really believe that we have to reach that point where we want it so much that we are willing to go after, despite what anybody else says, because it's deeply ingrained in us. And no one has the right to tell you what you're going to do. No one has the awareness, the awakening, the knowingness of your desire to tell you what you shouldn't do. And so I'm just such a proponent. And anyone I work with or all of my clients, when they have a dream and they have a desire, I'm like, come on, let's get you there. Let's do what it takes because it's all possible. I truly believe that everything and anything is possible. I say that all the time because look, somebody wanted to fly to the moon and we did it. Somebody wanted to invent, a machine that could read and see your bones through an x-ray. Somebody wanted to solve these problems, fix that, create that invention. And they did because they just believed that they were going to do what it took to get there.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you do that every day. Now, not wanting to necessarily skip over any of that journey of life, but you do a huge amount to do exactly that in your life's work. Tell us a bit, if you would, JB, about your life's work. I don't want to do the spoiler alert on it because it's juicy, great stuff.
Well, I'm so blessed to be a publisher and a legacy maker and really a mentor for people who want to step into the next versions of themselves. One of the ways that I truly believe that we evolve is by telling our story. We all have a story. And just as I shared with you about when I was little, that story helps us feel connected. Some of us have difficult times in our lives where our story has defined us. And I always like to say our story redefines us because your story and what you've been through is unique and like no one else. And that's the thing that's going to make you different in your marketplace, in your business, in your brand, in your relationships, because your story is completely unique to you. And so I love to help people publish their story, write their story, move through some of the trauma of their story, and really see it from a new perspective that is what they went through. Why? Because that's going to be the fuel for the fire that is going to get them to be where they want to be in a very unique way. And so our stories help us relate to one another. Our stories help us connect. Our stories build compassion. And so I feel so blessed to help people publish their story. And then I let people grow their brand and show them how their story is actually part of their mission and their message. And it then becomes their purpose. And that's how legacy coaching comes into it and mentoring people, because we know people all the time, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, they created something that was going to help people who are in addiction, people who have been through assault. Like those difficult times actually makes people become advocates to help others. And so I love to facilitate that by revealing the power of people's story and the beauty in their story and the beauty and the lessons and the wisdom that they have gained from the journey that they've been on.
And the stories are incredible. I've shared some of that journey with you as well. I have written short stories in 2 of your Ignite books, Ignite Happiness and Ignite Possibilities, but there are so many others. How many Ignite compilation books have you written now?
Yeah, we're just stepping into our 19th. Our newest book, Ignite Faith, is starting up. And then my big passion right now is Ignite Humanity, because what I'm learning is, and I have 4 children, is we really all have to come together to do something to powerfully ignite humanity so that we have a future and the next generations can really step into creating a better world for all of us. And so Ignite Humanity is the next book that we're doing, which is really exciting because people have had pivotal moments, ignite moments in their life that have changed the trajectory of what they're doing, that has ultimately led for them to ignite humanity. And I'm fascinated by the stories of people who have had very difficult and traumatic situations, and even not necessarily, a small thing can be an ignite moment, but it has led them to want to do something to help others. And I love to call that the triple win. You win, I win, somebody else wins. And there's the 4X win where somebody else wins. And we do that with our books. Our authors win, we win, our readers win. And then I'm igniting humanity by building schools in Indonesia and creating a legacy library for schools around the world.
Wow, so much to unpack. So, I want to come to the igniting humanity, but I know that's going to be a big topic. So let's stick with the books for a little moment. Tell me, which was the first Ignite book? What kicked it all off and why? How did that come about?
Well, I was actually personally, I had been in an abusive relationship, and I remember really like feeling like I was living underneath, I call my baseball cap. Like I felt like everyone knew, and yet I was hiding it, and I was living like this lie of a life where I didn't want anyone to know what was really going on with me personally, until I actually confessed that that was happening to me with somebody, and she ended up telling me that it was happening to her also. And so we became a little tribe of supporting each other through our story, and it grew, and we invited more women who were going through the same situation. And we ended up all sharing our stories under the guise of a Friday night, wine night. We would all come together and actually really share and connect with each other on an authentic, heartfelt level. And it helped us all heal and grow. And so what I decided was that there were many women who had stories that they were not sharing, but they needed to be told because it was empowering to them. And so the very first book was called Ignite Your Life for Women. And I reached out to 35 of my friends and asked them if they would take a chance on me and let me publish their story. And we would all step into this empowerment phase of showing what is possible for other women. And so they all said yes, and we jumped on board and we published our first book, and it was absolutely life-changing for everyone. And it set the tone for book after book after book, and it's just really grown. We've published over 700 authors now. And everyone, I just watch their eyes light up when they tell their Ignite moment. It's like revealing a part of you that you're no longer ashamed of. It's like coming out of the closet with something you actually can be really proud of, because you chose to be the hero in your story and not the victim. And that is so powerful for people. And then the next layer is you help somebody else, you empower and inspire and ignite another person. And that just brings this full 360-degree feeling of healing and rediscovery, and then empowering somebody else. So it's juicy all around.
It is super juicy. And I've been through that experience 2 times in those books, and working with all of the other authors, the way you magically bring it all together for them, it's just a powerful experience, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
community is so important, right?
it truly is. And so many people come into writing in these books thinking, I could never write a book. They know they want to, but they think, I can't write a book. I don't know how to write a book. I'm scared to write a book, or nobody will want to hear what I have to say. Why would anybody listen to me? And you've probably heard that hundreds of times over by now. So what is your advice to anybody who would like to, they feel all of those doubts, but they've got something in them. Can you explain to them about how to go about doing that, or why?
Yeah, I'd really love to share. If you have a story in you, which you do, every single person on the planet has a story. And I'm working towards building a platform that we can share, all 7 billion of us talking about our stories. But your story is unique. And there is definitely somebody out in the world who needs to hear exactly your story because it's so similar to theirs. And so when people say, I can't write, or I'm not sure, we always smile, because we get every single one of our authors to the finish line. We've had authors who English is their second language. We've had authors who are dyslexic. We've even had an author who was blind. And we know that through our very, very caring and supportive opportunity and technique, we move people through it incrementally, and we get people there in a supportive environment, and we show people how to tell their story in a way that empowers others. And I got to tell you, people always, they just rise to the surface. They rise to the occasion. The words come, there's something grand that comes through. There's like a higher power, and this really powerful experience happens, and the story evolves. And sometimes what people came to the project thinking they were going to write about, they end up writing about something totally different. But each and every time, they come to the understanding that they actually do have something to share, and what they do have to say is valuable. And that really is the power of the project.
It is, isn't it? And I've heard from so many of the authors, because I've made lifelong friends by writing with people like that. And I've heard from so many of the other authors that people have sent them messages after the books were published, They've seen the reviews maybe on any of the websites where people are buying the products and leaving a review, and they are just so shocked that people are saying, oh my God, your story made me cry. Oh my God, your story touched me. Your story helped me. Your story gave me strength to be able to make a decision. So many times they're thinking, whoa, I didn't think anybody would actually want to hear what I had to say, but they're always shocked. You must again hear that over and over again.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll give you a little bit of behind the curtain secret sauce. I mean, what happens is you have an ignite moment, something that you have to find a meaning to. And sometimes that meaning is I'm not good enough, or I'm not important, or people don't care about me, or I'll never make it. And something happened to you so that the meaning really stuck with you. And you lived your life a certain way until one day you had another ignite moment, an ignite transformation moment that changed your opinion of that you realize, like, actually, no, that's not true. Or, oh, I can see that differently. Or I've done enough now that that is no longer the case. And when you write about it and share it, and then you share it with someone else, you're actually redefining. I know you know this, you're brilliant. You know the power of the mind. You redefine the meaning behind that original thought. And then you actually reset and recreate a new thought pattern that actually puts like a whole new set of things in order. And then when you share it with somebody else, you've actually touched people in a way that is so profound and deep that, yes, you're right, the authors are like, wow, I feel transformed, I feel better, I feel healed, and then now I'm healing someone else. And so it's just a love fest all around. But the powerful thing is it's actually changed your mindset in different ways and empowered you to go out and be like, if I can do that, I can do this. If I can write that and expose myself to something that's truly, in my world that potentially wasn't the best moment of my life, and now I feel better about it, and I've learned from it, and it's going to help somebody else, that actually changes in a cellular level the way people go forward. And that's why we've had so much success at Ignite, because people think they're writing a story, and they are, but what they don't realize is they're literally rewriting their past, they're changing their limiting beliefs, and they're creating and adopting brand new practices that are going to help them going forward.
It's so true. And it gives people, I've seen it again over and over because of the people I'm connected with now who have written in these amazing books. It gives them the most incredible confidence to go forward with what they want to do in life.
Yeah, and I always say,
stuck.
it's true, right? And tell your story, transform your life. I mean, I was on a plane recently, and the woman beside me, we started talking, and she explained to me and shared with me her Ignite moment. She talked about how she had lost her father when she was 3 because he moved away, and she went looking for him when she was in her 40s. She had 27 names of the exact same name, Miguel Luis, and all of the phone numbers of a Miguel Luis who lived in a certain town. And she just ran her finger along the paper and picked one and phoned and said, were you married to so-and-so, and is your mother's name so-and-so? And yes, it was her dad. And such a powerful story, right? Well, the fascinating thing about that is I thought later, if that plane crashed, I would do everything to save her, to help her, to make sure she was okay. Because she told me her story. We made a very unique connection. Conversely, if she wouldn't have shared her Ignite moment, that plane would have crashed and I would have just saved myself. And that awareness made me realize the power of storytelling, the power of connection. And I've gone so far as to really look into the science of it, that when you tell people stories, you're actually changing the physiology of your body, your hormones, your endorphins. A lot of things are happening in the body and in the brain on a subconscious level. And even, without our conscious thinking, that actually makes us feel more connected to people. And that's made me super passionate about sharing Ignite moments. Because if I'm going to really ignite humanity, the truth is that's, to me, is the answer. We don't need fangled new technology. We don't need policies and governments. We actually need to connect to people on a true and authentic level, because that's going to change how we feel about people and feel about ourselves, which is going to ripple itself into humanity. See how excited I get?
Love it, love it, love it. This is what we're talking about, the juicy goodness. Now that brings us, you're talking about flying and sitting and talking to this woman. I know you've had so many experiences like that you just are sitting there and you're talking to someone and the magic happens. I know you've just also come back from a very important big trip, probably a momentous trip in your life. Tell us about that, please, JB.
Yeah, well, I was so blessed to just recently spend a couple of weeks in India, and I went there with the focus and intention of meeting His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And this is the power of intention and the power of making things possible. It took me 7 months of connecting and, turning over stones and reaching out and sending out emails and finding the right and perfect people, and at the same time working on my mission and what I'm doing so that I could warrant the ability to speak with the Dalai Lama. And so just recently, I'm just hot off the heels of it. It's only been a few days that I'm home. But I had an ignite moment, of course, when I met the Dalai Lama, and I reached out and held his hand and I kissed his hand and I kneeled and bowed before him. And I was able to put my hand on his chest and him, feel my essence. And then, which was so fantastic, was we literally put our foreheads together. And somebody said to me yesterday, it's like you guys were Bluetoothing because we just connected. Like it was like saying so much without having to say so much. When we just touched our foreheads, it was beautiful and powerful. And I heard so much of him say to me, go do this, this is your mission, don't waste any time. You've got this. This is for you. And it was a beautiful and powerful ignite moment, absolutely, that has really pushed me and inspired me to go and do exactly what it is. We all have a mission. We all have a purpose. We all have the thing that we came here to do. And so go do it. Like, don't wait. And the Dalai Lama is 87 years old. And I will share, of course, you can see that he is aging. And it made me even think more like we have to fulfill our mission and work hard, because none of us are going to circumvent aging. None of us are going to have this human body forever. And so it really was an ignite moment to reach your full potential, go after the things that you're capable of doing, and just be in such a space of blessing and peace and harmony for the planet.
That is just beautiful. My experience was a little bit different in so just to very briefly, and it feels very, very light in comparison to the richness that you've just been speaking about. I was on a trip with Simon, my partner, to Boston, where his headquarters were at the time, and we attended a conference that the Dalai Lama was speaking at some years back. And he was, of course, brilliant to listen to. We were not up close and personal like you were for that. We were definitely in the audience, up in the gods, watching it all happen. And Simon's phone got stolen from his pocket while we were there. So our joke ever since then has been that the Dalai Lama stole his phone. So I should have asked you to just check you were there.
Oh, by the way, Your Holiness, is any chance you have Simon's phone with you in your robes?
So I don't suppose he mentioned anything himself, but just saying. JB, tell me, why did you feel it was such an important thing for you to connect with the Dalai Lama? Why? I mean, there are so many inspirational people. Of course, he is one of the first that comes to mind for so many people, but why was he important for you?
Well, at the time when I first wanted to meet with him, I was searching for who is really igniting humanity. You know me, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it all out. And when I decided that I wanted to be the person to ignite humanity, I was thinking, okay, who else is doing this? Who can I align with? Who can I, be in allegiance with? Who can I learn from? And he was the first person that came to mind. What was fascinating, though, is while I was sitting to wait and meet with him, of course, I was all, filled with nerves and awaiting, him to come out. I really dialed into like, what is it I want to gain from this meeting? Like, what is the essence of the purpose while I'm here? And I really got the message that he was the magnet to bring me to India, to make me go through all of the other experiences that I had while I was in India, to really awaken myself to the power of what Mother India does for all of us, and to just go on my own personal voyage. This is the first time I've been not traveling with my kids in like 18 years, first time I've traveled without my partner, and first time I traveled without business. So this was a big wanderlust, journey for JB. And what I realized was he was just really the magnet to pull me through and then get me inspired and dedicated to go on this trajectory. And I think that happens to many of us. We want to buy a new car, or we want to, get a new program, or we want to do, there's a beacon that we're going after, and that beacon pulls us through so many other experiences that often when we get to the final end result, it was all the other stuff that was what educated us and inspired us and put us through our evolution. So I'm just so grateful that he was the person to bring me forth, because all of the experiences I had while I was in India, and everything I had for the last 7 months, all the highs and lows and ups and downs, and the work and the refining of my message came from that initial desire to meet with him. And so for your listeners, I want to say the same thing, like, go after your desire, even as outlandish and outrageous as it could be. And I will just segue. Last year, my husband and I cycled across Canada from Vancouver to Newfoundland on a tandem bike. Now, we just had the desire to do this epic trip, and that desire put us through all of the incredible experiences that we went through for 79 days. We didn't know what those experiences were going to be. We didn't know how it was going to change us and, help us evolve in our experience. But the desire to do that is really what brought us forth to enjoy all the stuff that we were meant to experience. And so I tell people, have a desire, have a big dream, go after it, go get it, because that will be the path to what you're meant to learn.
I love it. Go after your dream. It's not going to go after you. You have to go after it.
Yeah.
And that cycle ride that you guys did last summer was epic, but it's not your first one. Was it third?
It was my third.
Yeah.
In 2020, when COVID hit, I was like, wow, I'm not going to stay home and, shelter in. I'm going to go do something to show people what's possible. My kids were suffering from COVID. The world was sitting around waiting to hear what we were and we're not allowed to do. And I kept saying, what we need to do is we need to teach ourselves that anything and everything is possible. We need to be filtering our minds away from what we can't do and towards what we can do. And we need to be working towards solving some of the world's problems. I'm going to just show people that you can get up off the couch and be overweight and under, experience. I had no experience cycling. I wasn't an athlete, but I just did it one day, one pedal at a time, and just continued to go after it, and taught myself that you can do anything you put your mind to. You need to visualize, you need to focus, you need to put in the work, you need to learn and educate yourself. But it's all possible. It's absolutely possible. The problem with most of us as human beings is we just want it to happen immediately, and we don't really want to put in the effort. And that's a misnomer that some of us have bought into. It should be easier, and it should be quick, and it should be fast, and it should just come to me. And actually, that's not the way the world wants you to experience anything. Because if you don't actually work the muscles to have that experience, then you're not going to reap the rewards or know what to do with it. And so writing a book, cycling across Canada, building a business, starting coaching, creating a website, you have to do all those things to learn the steps so that you can utilize the end result to do something better for others.
Absolutely.
And I always add that to the end, do something better for others, because there was a time when I was not the most, selfless business person. I did fall into the trap of like, well, we got to make money and we got to dominate and we got to work hard and we got to make sure that we win at all costs. And I ended up losing that business because I didn't focus on the fact that every business has to function with the understanding that all people win, all people succeed, all people benefit, all people prosper.
Mm-hmm. It's not a one-way street.
Mm-mm.
And these 3 epic bike rides that you and the wonderful Peter did together got bigger and bigger each time. How long was the first one? Where was it from and to? Because a lot of people may not understand the distances between these places. So first ride was from where to where and how far?
So Calgary to Ottawa, and it was 5,000 kilometers.
5,000 kilometers, people. I mean, this is, to me, okay, I go to the gym most days, but 5,000 kilometers, no, thank you very much. That's epic.
About 3,500 miles. So on a bicycle. And then the next year we cycled Calgary to Alaska, which was about 6,500 kilometers, and it was 67 days. And then last year was Vancouver to Newfoundland, 10,000 kilometers, 79 days.
10,000 kilometers. Now that is consistency, it's drive, it's determination, it's heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears, and epic learnings along the way.
Can I share with you a little bit about that trip? So it was interesting because everyone wanted us to go to Cape Spear, which is the farthest, most eastern point of Canada, of North America, actually. It's the farthest point in North America. In fact, it is where England and Canada first had like their radio signal at Cape Spear. And so, yes, it's quite a historic and very famous place. And so we cycled to Cape Spear, but interestingly enough, I wanted the endpoint to be this beautiful, majestic, along the coastline, right up to this fantastic lighthouse that was right on the cliff that I could overlook the ocean and have this heroic finish to my cycle trip. And so we cycled to Cape Spear, which was entirely between, all the way to get there was between a forest on this tiny little road. We got to Cape Spear and it was all behind a fence that was, you had to go through a tourist station to get into. There was cannons and barricades and like bunkers, because it was like at a military point a military station at one point. And there was fences all along the edge. So you had to be like at least 5 to 6 feet from the edge of the cliff. And the lighthouse was like stumpy and boring. And I was like, this is not my finish line. So of course I said to my husband, I am not happy. This is not my finish line. And he said, well, what do you want? And I said, I want a beautiful shoreline all along the ocean. I want this beautiful little hill that goes up to this gorgeous lighthouse that comes to this cliff that is my finish point. And so we sat down on the computer in our travel vehicle, and I started Googling lighthouses in Newfoundland. There's 67 of them, if you did not know. And I started like hovering over all of them to see the pictures. And I found this one, beautiful, gorgeous red and white stripes right on the cliff. And I looked and it was called Heart's Content. And I was like, we're going to Heart's Content. And so we turned our bike around and cycled another 200 kilometers down this beautiful path, right along the ocean, up a little hill, up to this beautiful, incredible lighthouse, right out to the very edge of the cliff. And I looked out, and that was my finish line in Heart's Content. And it was completely symbolic of, we think we have these finish lines, but the truth is the finish line is where you feel content and where you feel loved and you feel blessed and you feel like you made it. And so I ended up spending 2 days in Heart's Content after we finished our cycle ride. I didn't want to leave. I felt so at peace and so joyous there. I ended up actually going for a hike and climbing some of the around the shoreline. And it really was evident that your finish line is yours, because everyone said, oh, Cape Spear, that's the finish line. But you make your finish line and you decide where it is you're going to say, I'm content, I'm happy. And if you have to turn around and go another way, be willing to pivot, because what's really out there for you, the grace and the joy and the beauty and the fulfillment, it's in your heart's content.
I think that's such an important message, JB. I love that. Thank you for that. So important to be able to be flexible with yourself and to not feel beholden to what other people expect of you, but to stay true to what it is you know is right. Love it. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Heart's Content. I'm so glad you found your heart's content.
That's true. I have a t-shirt now that says "Be Your Heart's Content" after I went there. And just again, symbolism. Our second trip was to the top of the World Highway in Alaska. And I had a similar situation because we were cycling 47 kilometers to the top of the world and there was no sign. We waited and cycled and we went through snow and we went through rain and we went through sun and then we went through snow again. And there was no sign that said top of the world until finally I said to Peter, this is it. We're stopping right now. We've reached the top. And we have decided that this is the top of the world. And we found out there isn't actually a sign that says top of the world highway. But we decided, we determined where we felt, and this is what I want to say, it's the feeling. Success is in the feeling. True triumph is in the feelings that you have. And so whenever you want something or dream about something, dial into the feelings, really get connected to the feelings that you have, because that is what will drive you. Not the money, not the accolade, not the award. It's the feelings that's really what you're looking for.
Oh, wow. And in such a literal sense, sometimes we're looking for a sign. You were looking for the
Yeah.
sign, the top of the world. Sometimes we're looking for a sign and we think, I'm not going to take action until I see that sign. Sometimes you don't need a sign. Sometimes there isn't a sign. The sign actually is what you know to be true and what you know to be right. So maybe stop waiting for the sign and just take action
Yes.
because
Amen.
you
Well
know
said.
what's right. Yeah, love that. Okay, JB, as a final part of the conversation, would you tell us, please, about Ignite Humanity? What is it? What does it mean? How do we ignite humanity?
Well, thank you so much for asking. It's a big question that I even myself am pondering, even though I've decided that I'm going to be the one to ignite humanity. And I'm doing it in multiple different ways. I think there's a book to be written, of course, that we are doing. I'm hoping to break a Guinness Book of World Records by having the largest compilation book with igniting humanity stories. I've been working on a documentary about igniting humanity and really learning what it means to ignite humanity. I've been doing the science and brain mapping around what happens in the body, and then meeting different people from all over the world that are igniting humanity in their own ways. And then speaking on stage in a way that actually the written or the voice empowers and ignites humanity. And my goal is that every single person on the planet has a story. And so I'm building a platform where people can actually share their ignite moments so that they can create what I call authentic friends. Because on social media now we all have friends, but we're potentially not being our entirely authentic selves. And so if I told my authentic story and I put it into a computer program that then shared with me, like, guess what? There's another white woman who loves to ride her bike who has met the Dalai Lama and she lives in Finland. Well, maybe now we have a very authentic connection, somebody that I could reach out to because we have an authentic relationship. And so I'm so passionate about bringing humanity together because ignite moments, they transcend color and race and religion and gender. We all connect with the human experience, perseverance, dedication, determination. Those are things that are common amongst us as human beings. And we need to see each other as human beings, not they're over there and they're over there and they're over there. We are all one. In fact, when I was at the Dalai Lama's bookstore, I bought a book and it's called How to See Yourself as You Really Are. It's on my bookshelf over there, written in 2007. Fascinating how advanced he was, because it talks about what's happening right now, that no culture, no country, and no society is independent of itself anymore. We all rely on each other for trade, for commerce, for fuel, for food, and we're all interconnected in so many ways. And so that interconnectedness requires us to care about each other. And sadly, the pandemic was the first thing, the first common denominator that we've ever had in the history of the planet that we all could relate to. And sadly, I say that because it was a negative thing, but what it did do was it created this common denominator that we can all see each other wherever we live as our brother and our sister and our friend and our neighbor and someone that we should care about, just as we want them to care about us. And so I'm on a mission to share this, and it's not new stuff. I'm just saying it in a way that's different with a catalyst of your story, your personal IP, something that only you own. No one can own your story, but you can use that to start blossoming connection between people that may save one another, help one another, heal one another, and start this beautiful ripple effect that's going to make humanity a better place for the future.
I'm looking forward to humanity like that. That is beautiful. And no better lady to do it. That really is amazing. And you're doing it in so many ways. You're opening up the world of possibilities for people and igniting humanity along the way by doing that. But you walk your talk.
Really, thank you so much. It feels like an honor. And I talk about rocking chair moments, and I'll leave your guests with this. When you are sitting in your rocking chair and you're facing the ends of your days, do you feel like you've done what you came here to do? Do you feel like you gave it your all? I had someone challenge me the other day that said, you know how impossible it's going to be to get 7 billion people all to share their ignite moment? And what I said was, well, if I get 1 billion or 5 billion or 3 billion or 3,000, did I lose or did I win? Because it doesn't matter any number other than me and the next person. I've achieved something, I've made an impact, I've made a difference. And so when you have a dream and a goal and you're sitting in your rocking chair and having those moments and you look back and you see, did I do what I came here to do? That's the question you have to ask yourself. That's the feeling you have to go after. That's the desire you have to have. And who gives a toot what anyone else says? It's all yours. It's up to you. Only you are going to be in that moment. So go do that. And however weird and wacky and wonderful you are, and different and strange and unique, love that about yourself. Look how I showed up today. I'm totally okay with it, because I want you to know that I believe in me. And when I believe in me, I help you believe in you. And so believe in you.
I love that. And as you say, who gives a toot about what anyone
said by a lady.
So beautifully put. So perfect. Really, really love it. And more people should feel that. And in this day and age of social media and the impact of social media, as much as it is important, we need to realize, don't give a toot about what other people think and what they say. You do you. Stay true to your values, your morals, to what it is your mission is, and take action.
Yeah, when we were on the bike, I'll be honest, we weren't on social media and our life was just fabulous. And so I tell people all the time, like, dial out of social media, go camping, go hiking, go outside, go sit at the beach, go to your lake house, like go actually all the places that social media isn't, and live your life and realize how actually it isn't the thing. It doesn't define us. It's something that we can use as a tool. And if we use it properly, it's a blessing. But in all honesty, like, live your life for you. Live your life for you and the people around you and the people that you love, and then make an impact on others. And you'll feel great about yourself, and you will emulate exactly what we all should be doing, igniting one another.
And ignite humanity as you go. Love it. JB, thank you so much for all of that juicy goodness and wonderful heart-centered sharing. Really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. And thank you for doing what you do, because you are igniting humanity and you are inspiring others and you are showing people to step into their limitless potential. And that makes a difference in so many people's lives. And so we love and appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that. JB, it's been a huge pleasure, and looking forward to our next catch up. But for now, on behalf of our listeners, I'd like to thank you so much, and thank all of our listeners for joining in for a juicy helping of Limitless Potential today with Lady JB Owen. If you don't know all about her, what have you been doing? All her links will be attached along with the episode of the podcast. So get in there and find out more, find out how to add your story and continue the journey of igniting humanity by also making yourself feel pretty damn special by publishing your story. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time for another helping of Limitless Potential.